Here I am, Lord. It is I, Lord. I have heard you calling in the night. I will go, Lord, if you lead me. I will hold your people in my heart. One more time. I will hold your people in my heart. I love when we have a chance to honor a new member, because that call and response reminds us who and what we are. Is that true for you? If it is, say, I do. See, we don't have to wait until we get married to say I do. We can say I do right now, because that's where we are in this three-part series of Love in Action. Today, it's Love in Action using our gifts. And as a recap from last week, we did the spiritual gift survey. Now, this survey is on the welcome table out there if you didn't have a chance to do it. It's really a wonderful process of discerning for yourself, where am I on my spiritual journey? But the spiritual gifts is really a twofold process. The first is spiritual development. How am I being? It's identifying who be here now. And then the second is sacred service. It's how am I doing? What am I going to do? I do. It is moving from being to doing. Now, an important thing about these love and action spiritual gifts is everyone has them. And all gifts are equal. Gifts are essential for the awakening of humankind to Christhood. This is a call to stepping into a new consciousness in our spiritual journey. Love and action is no small thing, and it's worthy of 3 Sundays of talking about it. So let's see where this is headed today. Now, the spiritual gifts are pulled from the New Testament. There are 27 gifts in the New Testament, spiritual gifts, and we use about 18 of them. Now, James chapter 1, verse 22 says, "But be doers of the word, not hearers only." Now, that doesn't mean we don't listen, because listening is important, but it's more important to be a doer of the word, to do what God has given us to do. God provides in such a miraculous way. We spoke about this actually on the morning prayer call today. What happens to the hummingbirds when the cold starts to come? I know right now the concept of cold is not part of our understanding, but it's coming. And at some point, the hummingbirds go, getting out of here. Even South Central Texas gets too cold for them. And where do they go? They go to Rockport, just like we do. Get down by the water. They go to Rockport, and the community there put out hundreds of bird feeders, hummingbird feeders, full of all that sugar water, so that they can drink up before they fly nonstop across the Gulf to Mexico. How smart is that? Winter in Mexico, have a Mai Tai, hummingbird life in Mexico, and then they come back next year. It's all a journey, and God provides the whole way. Now, if God provides for a little tiny hummingbird, shouldn't God also provide for us? Giving us all that we need to do what God wants us to do in the world. And that's our spiritual gifts. And that's the love and action of using our gifts. I turn to the wisdom of Howard Thurman. Oh, what a great man. Great teacher, humanitarian. He says, do not ask what the world needs. Don't waste your time. Ask what makes you come alive and go and do that. What the world needs most are people fully alive. It needs us to be respectful of what it is we are. We each have gifts. And our gifts aren't the same. Because there are a whole bunch of needs, yes? And God given them everything. Now, the thing about spiritual gifts is they tend to be the things we take for granted because it's so easy for us. Our spiritual gifts aren't the ones that have to work at it really hard. It just is. And it's ours to identify that gift and share it, to do it. Be fully alive. H. Emily Cady, she was a physician in New York in the 1800s, wrote a powerful book, Lessons in Truth, which was the only textbook for many years to be a unity minister. But you didn't just read the book, you had to demonstrate what the book said. No small order. And here she says, unless you use for the service of others what God has already given to you, you will find it a long, weary road to spiritual understanding. There's not a lot of growth if we're withholding, not sharing, pulled back from, withdrawn. Not a real growth place. Kind of reminds you of the dead of winter. Not a whole lot happening. But when we identify what we can do in being of service to others, we awaken. We found out that life is really worth living. That there's more to life than just me, myself, and I. There's more to life than worrying about not being old enough or intelligent enough or cute enough or rich enough. Yes, that's part of our human journey. We're going to have the whole wealth of human experience. But when it comes to our spiritual truth, we're given innate gifts from God. For a reason. It's how we bring God into the world. In our co-creation with God, we are the presence. Are you ready to use your gifts to be love in action? Reverend Donald Curtis, a great writer, a great minister. He also had a terrific film career, movie star. He did lots of movies, TV shows. And then he became a unity minister. And he used all of that, I can do this, to establish Unity of Denver. And then he got the call to Unity of Dallas and brought Unity of Dallas to its heights. There's a lot that we can do when we use our gifts. And it doesn't matter what field it is, or whether it serves the animals, or the plants, or other people, or babies, or kids, or a few old people. But he says, loving, self-forgetting service is the shortest, the safest, and the surest way to God. Anyone like to have deeper awareness of God? Anyone ready to say yes to God? Well, the fastest way there is to be of service. And it's not just helping out. It's giving what we have to give. Giving our innate gifts to share. Life is good. Albert Schweitzer, a great lecturer and author, a Nobel Peace Prize winner, says, I may never have the opportunity to meet you or to know what you do for a living. But I know that unless you find a way to love and serve, you will never be truly happy. Now, looking around, I see a lot of people here who are already know this truth, that serve in many ways in this community and the world. But I know for myself, because I'm a servant, I love to be of service. And what I do does make me feel fully alive. And I can be more alive. I can be more connected with God. Because I still spend too much time in the, I don't have enough energy. I don't know if I have it all. I just don't know if I could do that. Sometimes I spend in that space. But I also know it doesn't take much to change the channel, to be of service, to awaken to a different truth. Albert Einstein said, if you want to change something, you can't change it from the consciousness that created it. You have to operate from a different consciousness. That's moving from being just a human being to a spiritual doing. We bring this talk to a close with this quote from Reverend Marion R. Brown. He wrote a wonderful book called Putting Life Back Together. And he says, nothing will help to put our lives back together, no matter what has broken them up, like forgetting ourselves and rendering service to others. We are these amazing, shimmering godlets. We have this ability, a call to be much bigger than we are. Because I also find that when I'm doing what I do in service to others, I find other people doing it as well. And where two or more are gathered, we can do more together than we can do separately, yes? And we're in a time in our community where we have a lot to do. You'd think we'd have done it already. Finished, done, over, chapter done, okay, done. No. We're stepping up to, there's a whole world of things that we can do. Are you ready Are you ready to invite God more into your life by stepping up to sacred service? Using our gifts is the greatest way we can step away from the pains and the struggles and the challenges in our life, which we're going to have. But as soon as we're of service to others, engaged in loving action, true divine love, all of the pain, the discomfort, the not enoughs melts away. And we're left with a life beyond our wildest dreams, saying, yes, God. Okay, God. Using our gifts. Thank you.
Step out on the water, release your faith. Every step is stronger. Step out on the water.